Hello. Right, okay, so we are in interesting times, I would say. I'm being aware that nobody is going to be within 2 meter distance of me. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky time. How are you all getting on? I must say that, well, just to start this in case it's seen after the event, although I think this event's going to be here with us for quite a while, but we are currently, well, I'm here in London, currently experiencing, I think, moving towards lockdown, as they say, with this coronavirus situation. And yeah, I think it's after the obvious challenges with regards to health, of course, our physical health, actually getting the virus itself. Of course, that's the main thing in terms of trying to reduce getting it yourself, and also possibly increasing the chances of spreading it. And that's why there's the whole social distancing going on. But it does cause a lot of other issues, because obviously now the majority of people, not everyone of course, because people who are working in, like as I say, on the front line, whether that be in hospitals or supermarkets, pharmacies and things like that, most people now are not at work, not going to work, as in going to an office, going to a shop, whatever. Most people are either working from home or quite possibly and unfortunately actually out of work for the moment. So it's obviously very challenging. I can only speak from my own perspective, and there are many challenges that arise from this situation. I think one from my own perspective is definitely related to mental health. I mean, I'm outside now. Luckily I live near a park, but of course we're meant to be abiding by the social distancing guidelines, which means if everyone just goes to the park and just hangs out, it's not going to be doing that, and it will probably will lead into complete lockdown. So you're trying to avoid people, but at the same time you're also trying to maintain some form of stability in terms of your own mental health. I'm someone who gets up really early. I wake up about 4:30 a.m. I don't get up until say 6 o'clock, but I'm awake already. So to be stuck in my room from 4:30 a.m. awake right up until or stuck in the house right up until you go to bed in the evening is a challenge. I'm someone who likes to be out and about doing stuff. I'm sure most people do like to be out and about, and especially now that it's spring, you don't want to think, it's difficult to just say you've got to stay inside. But of course you've got to do what's right for this situation to try and reduce the risk of spreading, and to try and reduce the whole thing to a shorter period of time, and reduce just generally problems. So yesterday was the first day that I can't go to work anymore. I'd recently started working somewhere that I have found to be a really positive thing in my life, because it's given me obviously routine, also social interaction. I enjoy the work that I do, and it's a family run business, so it means that you feel part of something. The limitations of it is that it's a very small in the location that I mostly work, it's a very small room, so you can't move around a lot, and at times it can get quite quiet. So there's challenges in that after working other jobs where there were massive places in terms of the space, and also there were many people working there, and it was very, very busy. So I wanted something that was less stressful and something that I could just walk to, so I got that, which is amazing. It's a godsend. But then there's a limitation because it was the other end, or there's a challenge I should say, because it was the other end of the spectrum. Then became the opposite challenge, dealing with possible quiet times and the lack of physical space to move around, etc. So there's challenges in everything, we know this. But yesterday was the first day where I didn't actually need to go, or couldn't go to work really anymore. Of course, we're trying to avoid using public transport unless it's completely necessary. So I couldn't go to work anymore, and that was that. So in the Myers-Briggs personality type system, I don't like to put people into boxes. I don't like to be put into a box myself. But using that psychological personality typing system, the MBTI system, I would come out as an ENFP. And I think this period of time especially is going to challenge me. It already did yesterday, big time, because as an ENFP, I'm someone who likes to be doing lots of different things at once. Now that's obviously can be a positive thing. The negative side to that is that ENFPs are prone to starting things and not necessarily very good at finishing them. So I'm someone who's got a million different, I'm a musician, I'm a singer-songwriter amongst other things, but just as an example, as a singer-songwriter, I've got so many songs, pieces of music, ideas, and that's just within the music stuff that I've started but need finishing. Now, usually I could say that I have to fit my music in and around work. You know, if I'm at work, then I fit it in and around when I'm at work, and I'm very good at having these big bursts of energy, and I get loads done in very short periods of time. So I might get up and do something before work, or I might do something after work, or on a day when I'm not at work, I'll do it then, and then I'll go off and enjoy being outside and doing something else to get inspired. But generally what happens is I have really intense periods of time where I can be very creative very quickly, and then that's it, I won't. But then of course when you're doing certain things like finalising projects or finishing off a song in terms of the recording and production, you might spend a more concentrated, longer period of time because you just have got the time to do it and you actually want to do it. So that's great. But I struggle when I've got loads of time on my hands, because a lot of the time I'm procrastinating about things. Typical ENFP thing. I'll be procrastinating about things a lot of the time, and I will be just sort of going round and round in circles in my head. For instance, if I need to write lyrics to something, I don't feel that I can just write lyrics there and then. It's something that needs to happen when I feel right. And if I'm working on a piece of music or a song, I need to feel like I want to do it, not just do it. It's not like just doing a calculation or doing, here's people. It's not like just doing something very logical. Sometimes it is if it's more of a technical thing, but a lot of the time it's more, because it's more creative, you need to feel like you're in the mood, in the headspace, in the vibe of it. It's hard to just say sit down and write the lyrics. Some songwriters do that and they're amazing that they can do that. I can do it to an extent, but usually it needs to be, I need to feel like I'm in the space to do that. So this situation now, yesterday was an example of it. Suddenly, when you can't use like going to work as an excuse of not having time or whatever, you've got all the time. You've got all the time now. You could sit there all day working on things and doing things, creative things, and no one's going to tell you otherwise, because this is what we're in now. We're in a time of lockdown pretty much where we've got this opportunity. But for someone like myself, that can be a real challenge, because it means that all the procrastination and all the challenges and all the sort of, I don't want to say excuses, because they're not excuses, it's just the mental challenge of actually getting down and working on certain things, even when you don't feel like it. Suddenly you feel like you should be doing it, because you know that most people are using this period of time as an amazing opportunity to get on with creative things, which even myself, that's what I want to be doing. But it's very challenging suddenly when you're met with all of these bazillions of unfinished projects and unfinished pieces of music and songs and things that you think you should be working on, but you're met with all that resistance and all that procrastination energy, all the stuff that has in the past maybe subtly stopped you doing it, suddenly comes smashing into your face because because you've got all this time on your hands and you should be doing something with it. I mean, you know, I'm not someone who sits there watching Netflix all day. I haven't even got it. I'm not someone I might go to the cinema as a treat to myself. I'll go after I've done some recording or writing or whatever. Then I'll go to the cinema because now I'll spend the afternoon and do that. And it usually inspires me, and then the next day I feel like I want to do more recording or music or writing or whatever. You know, I've got ideas for so many different things, books, ideas, you know, it's just ridiculous. But obviously it's all great to have all these ideas, but if you never finish anything, then it's pointless. So although I'm very good at being productive, if I didn't have so much procrastination and so much of these sort of like limiting beliefs, and also what am I doing it for? A lot of the time, you know, you can record music, write music and put it out there, but what's it for? You know, what you do, you can think that a lot of the time, what you're actually doing it for. What's it for? Does anyone care about it? Not that you should really be doing it for anyone else, because you should be doing it as a means to express yourself for yourself. But at the same time, if you're dealing with your own issues of procrastination, self-worth, trying not to be egoic and trying not to create loads of attention around yourself and like, look at me, you know, you don't want to be all like that, then you sometimes think, well, what's the point doing anything? What's the point doing it? But then you have this huge nagging feeling, or I do, that I should be doing it. I should be putting stuff out there. I should be completing work, being given this gift of music and other stuff. You should be making the most of it. And then you're suddenly met with huge amounts of guilt, or I am, huge amounts of guilt of why I'm not doing it. I should be doing it. Why am I not doing it? Why haven't I put things out there? Why am I procrastinating? And then when you're feeling like that, it's very, very difficult to sit down and actually do it. Because how can you, you know, feel, oh, light and fluffy, let's work on this piece of music or write this song or write these lyrics, when you're feeling all of those conflicted, challenging emotions. And this is what leads me back to the fact that it's really, from my perspective, one of the biggest challenges of this whole thing, unless I actually get the virus, then obviously that's going to be the biggest challenge, because it's going to be, everything else will just go out the window. So, you know, shouldn't be complaining at all, and I'm not complaining, I'm just being honest, that other than getting the virus itself, one of the biggest challenges for me is going to be one of mental health, because I'm someone who likes to be out. I've come out now. I mean, look, there's people everywhere, so you're trying to like not in, you know, but what can you do? You shouldn't be out really at all. If you want to minimize getting it or spreading it, you shouldn't be out. Is it essential that I'm out now doing this? Of course not. But then in a way it is, because there's no way I could have just got up and just sat in my room for the next 12 hours or whatever. So there you go. I don't know, maybe some people can do that. I'm not just going to sit in my room, I'll be doing lots of stuff. But what I'm saying is, I know for me, the mental health side of it is going to be the biggest challenge of this thing, because, you know, I felt just had got back into a routine, going to work, you know, 4 days a week, where I can be creative, because it's a creative kind of job to quite a large extent. It's interacting with customers, and ironically, I tend not to feel part of society or anything anyway. And ironically, during this lead up to what's happening now, where everyone's been talking about it, and in the shop have been able to interact with customers about how they're feeling, what they're doing, are they at work or are they working from home, it's been a nice way to actually feel like you're connected to something. Which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It takes something like this to feel connected. I'd never personally felt very much connected to society and community. Never really felt, you know, part of the world. That's why music has been an incredible thing to help me find my own space. But during the lead up to this corona thing, I felt a little bit more connected to people, and that's been quite good. And obviously it's not good, the corona thing is not good, but I'm just being honest about how it has been playing out in more recent times. But now that that's been chopped, can't go to work anymore, suddenly that sort of connection feeling in terms of the people I work with and the customers, that's gone. When you're out and about, you're meant to be distancing yourself, of course, so you're not, to be honest with you, I'm not going around going hi to people. I'm just sort of getting the stuff done, keeping away and getting back in. It's spring, which is beautiful, but of course it's, you know, can't really enjoy being out in it, but at least it's spring and at least it's not the winter. But I suppose what I'm saying is that personally I know that this is going to be a challenge internally with regards to my mental health, because I know when my mental health is challenged, everything goes out the window. It's very difficult to sit there writing music, recording music, anything creative when you're going mad inside. But of course it's using those creative outlets as a means to channel it and support it as well. So it's trying to, personally for me, as I say, as an ENFP personality type, if we want to use that as a means to understand oneself, personally for me, it's trying not to be overwhelmed with all these unfinished projects and things that I've got, and all these songs and pieces of music and things that need completing. I need to try and break it down into smaller chunks, take the pressure off, because I have such a huge amount of expectation on myself that if I don't allow myself the breathing space to not feel so much pressure, then I feel huge amounts of guilt and self-expectation and lots of shoulds and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a challenge. And the other thing which is challenging as well, hey Helen, how are you? And sorry, it's a bit sunny, I'm definitely going to keep my eye. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you understand what I mean. I mean, anybody who works from home anyway will be sort of like a step ahead of everyone else, because they understand, or anyone who's freelance or self-employed will understand what it's like. But this is obviously enforced, and you know, so it can be a challenge. But I would say that it's important, personally, from my perspective, as someone who is very good at starting things. I'm very good at coming up with ideas, starting things, very good at that initial spark, but very quickly that can fizzle out, and then you're left with millions of unfinished things, and I'm being met suddenly by that. Suddenly it's like, well, whereas I had already written down before this happened a list of, say, songs that I want to complete, but suddenly it's like, you should be doing those things and you should be making the most of this time, because although this is obviously a very challenging, upsetting and challenging time in many ways, it's also a great opportunity to focus on things that we have been saying we don't have time for, we're too busy, we've got to go to work, you know. Well, that's not an excuse, is it, in a way now, because we've got the time. So see, I'm not going to, I can stay in for England until, of course. Yeah, well, this is it. It's a tricky one, because it's great to have time to do what you want to do. I think another tricky thing, personally for myself, is that now that one of the other guys in my house is having to work from home as well, I'm someone, ironically, or is it ironic, I don't know, but funnily enough, I'm someone who I like, well, less so now than I used to, but being up and, say, performing on stage, I used to really enjoy doing. In these times, I'm not quite sure where I'm at with it all, but anyway, I do want to do it, I suppose. But when it comes to actually, a bit weird, there was loads of space, he could have gone over there, but he went that close to my face, you know, it's weird, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Hey Helen, hi. Basically what I'm trying to say is that I'm someone that when I'm actually creating and recording at home, I don't want anyone else to be in the house. If I just put it bluntly, I don't want anyone else to be there, because I don't want anyone else to hear what I'm doing. I don't feel like I can be fully creative. I feel like someone's listening, and it's very difficult to just express what I'm doing, because when you're recording, sometimes you're recording the same thing over and over again, you're trying things out, you need to just feel free. Well, for me, and maybe this is just ridiculous, but for me, if there's someone else in the house, I find that a real challenge, because I feel like someone's there. Obviously now, people are going to be in the house, because of course they're going to be in the house because of what's going on, and that's fine because we're in a blooming pandemic. We've got a virus situation on our hands, so it's not an issue, you can't even think about that. It's just what it is. But for me it is a challenge, because knowing that there's other people there is difficult, and also knowing that, for instance, the guy in the house, his room's above mine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, HSP. It's true, isn't it? I know, I sort of don't think of these things, but it is true. Yeah, thanks, Helen. Oh, two Helens. I've got two Helens at the same time. Hi. So basically, I think, I'm also very conscious of disturbing him, because he's upstairs working and he's still doing his job. He's actually working from home. So, you think, well, you're there doing your songs, and then he's up there. I don't want to be disturbing him. And so it's two ways. It's not only that I don't feel that I can actually do what I need to do expressively, I also don't want to annoy and disturb someone else who's actually trying to do their job. And I know that the work that he's doing, the industry that he works in, is suffering greatly because of this whole thing. So I know absolutely that I don't want to add any more difficulties to his life. But at the same time, you've got to think of your own situation, that if you're not able to do your work, it's challenging. You can't just sit there quietly like this and never do anything. So anyway, yesterday I just kind of just chatted about it and just sort of said, I'm aware that I don't want to disturb you, because I did do some just recording a demo the other day, and I know it would have been disturbing him. Not that I'm particularly loud, but you've got to sing. You can't be like, ooh, you've got to actually sing, haven't you? So I kind of said that to him, and he said, yeah, it was loud for him anyway, because it's right above him, or he's right above where I was. So he said he's going to go into another room. He'd already decided to go into a smaller room, which is closer to the front of the house. But because it's quite a big house, everything reverberates around. So, it's just trying to figure it out, and also find ways to make it work so that you're able to do your work, other people are able to do their work. These are the challenges that I'm sure lots of people are being met with. I'm someone who actually likes my own space. I like connecting with people, but I absolutely need to have my own space to recharge and to do my own thing. It's going to be a challenge. This being locked down, locked indoors. Thank God there's this park here, but they might close it because, after what they said, they might close it. There's lots of people about now. I'm here. Should I even be outside? Am I doing this? Is this wrong? Who knows? But mental health wise, you've got to get out and get some exercise. Otherwise you go crackers. So it's going to be interesting times. Everybody I know is challenged in their own way. People who have children, people who don't have children, people who are in relationships, people who are not in relationships, just basically everyone is going to be challenged in one way or another. People who maybe feel they want all the time to themselves in the world might suddenly realise that having too much time isn't as good. People who don't want to be on their own and have time to themselves might be challenged in that way. And of course, if anyone actually has got the virus, then all of that goes out the window, because then you're dealing with the virus. So it's trying to put things into perspective. I understand as well, because of course if you get it, then all of this is just pointless conversation because you've got the virus. But I do also believe that our immune systems are very much connected to how we feel in terms of our stress levels. So if we're getting really mentally stressed and we're not unable to feel content in certain ways, and we get stressed and anxious and full of fear and panic, or just stressed because of our circumstances, that can lead to a reduced strength in our immune system, which can lead to catching something more easily. So there's so many things to take into account, and I think it's going to be interesting. Also a time when you say we've got to come together, when you have these kind of issues, come together. Well, ironically, physically we can't come together, we have to be apart. So it's actually quite an interesting time in that respect. So of course, at least we've got the this technology. Obviously if the internet went down, we'd be completely fried and screwed, so hopefully that won't happen. But of course we can do this and connect in this way, which is incredible. That's something that wouldn't have been possible not that long ago. So that's a blessing. Yeah, I don't know. So I suppose it's just just doing this as a personally, as a means to just get some of this stuff out of my head. Also to possibly connect with some people who might be feeling similarly, and just because it's quite a good thing to do. For instance, I just got up, had breakfast, and have just come straight out, rather than normally I would read first thing before going out, and then you'd either be going off to work, or then I would start doing something, you know, more probably computer based. But I don't know about you guys, but I can't sit for the whole day with a computer in my face. It's just can drive you nuts. So yeah, so that's that. Anyway, I think I'll probably just leave it there. I'm sure this is more just for me in terms of ranting for my own sake, but I still think it's quite a good thing to do. So it's important, I think, to express what we're feeling, and even if it's just something we document for ourselves, that could be useful as well. But I do think it's important to try. Obviously everyone's going through their own things, so you can't be blabbering on about your own issues that might seem quite insignificant in many ways, but I think you have to acknowledge what you're going through yourself as well. Otherwise, yeah, well, you suffer, but then also probably the people you live with suffer. All right, Helen, have a good day yourself. Take care. I think maybe other Helen has gone. See you soon. This is what it looks like here in London. It's gorgeous. Ciao for now.